A 3-line document. An invoice dated January 14, 1980. The amount is $35,000. The transaction was cash. It was conducted at the Soviet Embassy in Washington, D.C. This document seems banal. That is, unless the seller's name was Ronald Pelton, an NSA analyst. And if the goods were not Operation Ivy Bells, the most secret submarine espionage program of the United States. This document should not exist. But a line in the FBI archives confirms it. The question no one has ever asked is, how did a $35,000 invoice allow the Soviets to return years of American espionage into their own territorial waters? The file begins earlier. In 1858, the first transatlantic telegraph cable connects Europe and America. Official history tells a story of technical triumph. The investor archives show something else. The cable was sabotaged multiple times. Promoters lied about the state of communications to keep stock prices stable. The myth of submarine cable security was born when the first wire was laid on the ocean floor. The file jumps to 1971. The nuclear submarine USS Halibut, modified for electronic warfare, penetrates the Okhotsk Sea. A declassified report from the Black Vault describes Operation Ivy Bells. The crew deployed a 6-meter listening pod directly onto a Soviet cable. The artifact is staggering. The pod had no battery. It recharges through induction, stealing energy from Soviet communications. For 10 years, it captured the conversations of the Pacific Fleet. Line 14 of the report details a detail absent from official manuals. Navy divers physically cut the cable to attach the device. This was a commando operation in the waters of a nuclear power. The archives suggest Operation Ivy Bells was not a simple incident. It was a complete paradigm shift. For the first time, one nation could absorb the entirety of another superpower's military communications. From ballistic missiles to launch protocols, no message remained private. Then, in 1980, Ronald Pelton, an NSA analyst burdened by debt, sold the exact location of the pod for $35,000. The Soviets recovered the device and discovered the scope of the surveillance. A contradiction emerges. The analyst testified under oath that he delivered the operation. But who verified what he knew? Documents from the CIA FOIA reading room show that in 1985, Admiral Gorshkov ordered the deployment of fiber optic cables specifically to counter inductive hacking. This was a defensive measure. But in 2026, over 400 cables crossed the oceans. 95% of intercontinental communications travel through these wires. The investigators who accessed Pentagon budgets found an anomaly. The United States invested massively in securing these cables. Why protect what should be inviolable? Until now, one could believe submarine espionage was a matter of the Cold War. It was a relic overtaken by technology. But a line in a Library of Congress report from 2023 presents a problem. It describes the massive United States investment in fiber optics as an effort to improve security and speed. This contradicts the official position that the cables are impossible to intercept. The question no one has asked is, what if cable security was not a defense? What if the investment served to conceal the most recent interception method? Perhaps the true secret of Ivy Bells is not in the past. Perhaps it resides in what remains unclassified. What was once believed to be an isolated anomaly began to outline a pattern. The Fort Knox Vault. The MG/3234/ a cable. The amendment signed in 57 to a directive that did not officially exist until 52. Each document, viewed separately, can be explained. Together, they form a coherence that is not random. If the archives are complete, then what we have seen is not a vague incident. It is a protocol. A standard procedure for something that was never meant to be described. The blackened boxes, the slashed lines, the erased names, this is not simple information retention. This is the signature of a program operating outside established channels. What remains unexplained is this: why does the file bear no subsequent classification stamp? Why could the Department of Defense keep this secret without documenting it as classified? The answer is perhaps more disturbing than the secret itself. This is not the first program the archives appear to have forgotten. In 2024, a team from the National Archives reopened the records of Record Group 341. Inside, they found an internal memo dated December 3, 1957. It was slipped between the pages of the Air Force Monthly Report. A single sentence, typed without a signature. The material referenced in Appendix A of the MG/3234/ a cable is transferred under joint jurisdiction. No further record required. That is all. No description. No destination. The MG/3234/ a file is not mentioned anywhere else in the open archives. Yet, December 3, 1957, is also the date of the protocol amendment. This modification replaced destruction with a simple transfer. The investigators who found this note demanded the transfer registry. It is missing. The volume for 1957 is intact except for that month. Pages 47 through 52 were torn out. Not erased. Torn out. With what we know today, this poses a question no one asked at the time. What if the material was never destroyed? What if the Fort Knox vault was not an endpoint, but a transit point? The MG/3234/ a cable is officially classified. But what is classified is not always sealed. What is erased still exists elsewhere. If the same transfer protocol, without record, was used for other files, how many boxes left the archives without a trace? What if the answer lies in another record group, another vault, another base? In the early hours of a morning in 1958, a team from the Army Corps of Engineers loaded 3 crates onto a flatbed truck departing from Wright-Patterson. The official destination was the White Sands Proving Ground. The loading manifest was never recovered. This program is officially closed. What replaced it is the next episode.